said she the one, I bet she thinks she is.
Happy NaNoWriMo. May the odds be ever in your favor. Today is November 1st. It was also the first day of spring back, I think. I don't really understand any of these weird things that we do with our clocks. For more sleep, then I'm more tired now. And my body thinks it's 10 p.m., but the clock says it's 9. And I haven't started NaNoWriMo yet. It is the first, like I said. And guess who hasn't done anything? I was busy today. Writing was the last thing on my mind. I went out for a very long drive with my family this morning. When I got back, I had to do some schoolwork. After that, I passed out because I was so tired. I don't usually take naps, but you know it's that point in the semester when you just start passing out, like in the evening, in the afternoon and stuff. What I'm trying to say is I really didn't want to write today, and I still don't want to write today. I'm not going to fail on this goal on day 1, and so I'm just going to sit down and I'm going to do my half NaNoWriMo. I want to do half an hour of writing. I would prefer if that half an hour was drafting, but there are no limitations. For those of you who are new to my channel, this NaNoWriMo, I'm working on a novel that I started in April, and I'm hoping just to progress as far as I can get. So I'm working on a novel called Feeding Habits, and Feeding Habits is the second novel in a spin-off series of a 6-book series. It's part of a series called Fostered, and within that series it belongs to its little spin-off series called Mothwork. This is Feeding Habits. This is just a dust jacket. The summary of Feeding Habits. Lonan isn't sleeping. He hasn't slept since the phone call started. Only on Fridays, only in the afternoons, only in a code he and the caller understand. Navigating the remnants of a destructive romance, he finds solace in supporting the caller who is in a similar situation. But as both Lonan and the caller find themselves more and more in a situation of prey versus predator, he chooses to leave what has been familiar to help not only himself, but the caller and the child she appears to be caring for. Harrison isn't happy. Settled into his new life in New York City with his mother Susanna, things should be exciting, vivid, glamorous. But life in the city is duller than projected. Unable to hold down a job or make friends beyond a litter of stray kittens, he concludes his fresh start will only ever be disappointing. As he cycles through the bland circuit of his new life, an inevitable truth is revealed. Though Harrison doesn't want to admit it, he knows what's missing and must decide whether or not he's willing to go and find him. If you couldn't tell from the dust jacket, this book is really gay. I'm gonna write with my sister. In terms of where I'm currently at in Feeding Habits, I hosted a live stream a few days ago on my channel where I made a bit of progress. The boys have reunited after a bit of a tumultuous time apart, and they're a couple, if you couldn't tell. They're not really currently a couple right now, but they will eventually be a couple. They're OTP is what I'm trying to say. I just don't know how to write this because I haven't written with the dudes like together in months. I was thinking they might go somewhere, but now I wonder if they should just do something as I'm speaking out loud. I'm going to log off, go get my tea, which is still steeping, and start doing some writing. Hello. So I have bread. Writing's not gonna happen today. It's like 10 something. I honestly spent most of my day from like morning till like 5:30 or so doing schoolwork, and then from beyond that I was editing a video that I'm really proud of and I was really excited to edit. I edited some of it yesterday too, but kind of like forced myself to like write because it was like the first day of NaNoWriMo. I was going to write right now, but the problem is I need to finish an assignment, so it's not going to take me very long, but by the time I finish it, it's probably going to be like 11 something, and I don't want to spend a half hour trying to write when I know that what I write is not going to be great. I don't like to go in with the mindset with that, especially for like the beginning of half NaNoWriMo, but yesterday my writing session was like okay. I started a scene with the boys and it's just not very good. I don't love it. So technically I won't have spent half an hour today writing Feeding Habits. I'm not going to look at it. I'm very tired right now, so I'm just not going to. Tomorrow I will try to get in a little bit more words. Tomorrow's the American election though, so nothing's gonna happen tomorrow. I'm just gonna enjoy my bread and finish my paper.
Unfolding before us right now. And in 2020 right now, this is the very...
Hi everyone, so today is November 4th, and to be honest, NaNoWriMo has not gone off on a very great start, but I'm not upset about it or anything. Yesterday was the start of the American presidential election. I am not American, I'm Canadian. I live in Canada. The American election is still very important to keep track of, and so I spent all of last night watching the American election, as you saw. I did technically work on feeding habits, but for some reason I forgot to update it on my pages. Yesterday I got a comment, somebody asked me if I was going to upload chapter 3 of Feeding Habits, my audiobook style, because I've just been narrating the chapters of Feeding Habits for you guys just to listen for fun. I actually wasn't planning on it anytime soon just because I thought chapter 3 had a lot more that I needed to revise, but I forgot when I made a huge revision on chapter 3. I had moved the scene, which I am not comfortable sharing on here, to the very end, so it was a lot easier to edit than I thought. And so I did spend about a half hour yesterday just going through it, combing through the language, cleaning up the prose, and also just removing anything that I don't want to share with you, just so that I could create the script for the audiobook, which I will narrate. I forgot to update like my NaNoWriMo, my Write Club and stuff. Honestly, the world is kind of stressful right now, so I'm not really that focused on writing. And I have school today. I have a class at 5:30 of fiction that I need to attend. Before then, I have some lectures that I just need to watch for this class that I don't really like, but I'm just gonna force myself to do it. The last time I drafted Feeding Habits, I just didn't love what I ended up writing, so we'll have to see. But this is just NaNoWriMo. Honestly, like today I am planning more on making some mooncakes, and I made mooncakes last weekend and I'm just trying to perfect it because I've made them twice now and they are just not exactly how I want them, so I am still trying. The election's getting me, guys.
I'm on a wave like Lake Michigan. Cold. She the one, Bessie thinks she is.
Hello, it is November 6th. I haven't updated on my journey for NaNoWriMo in a while, and that is because I have not been writing. If you didn't know, which everybody knows probably, the American election was on the 3rd, and it's still not over. It's not going to be over for a while, but I've been very occupied watching the American election. It has just been impossible for me to do any sort of writing. Right now, I'm actually waiting for an appointment. It's been, you know, it's a bit late right now, so I have just been getting work done. I finished 2 things for school in the meantime, and I'm like now just clicking open Feeding Habits in terms of progress. I wonder how you guys are feeling. I haven't done any writing since election night. Election day, I did some stuff for Feeding Habits. I did a line edit so that I could narrate chapter 3 for you guys. And I might do a line edit on chapter 4. I think I'll work on that right now. I am actually thinking I will post like the whole book on here because I really enjoy interacting with you guys and the book in particular. To be honest, I got a little bit stuck, so I'm a bit in slight panic mode just because I was hoping that with the boys reunited, I would just figure this book out, but now there's like no conflict, and so I need to figure out what the conflict is going to be. I think there's internal conflict, like Harrison just is not mentally there to be in a relationship, and I don't think he is expecting Lonan to show up, but at the same time, he's been kind of haunted by him the last few months without him. And so I think mentally and internally there's a lot of conflict with he needs to sort of accept the state of the relationship and let it go. I think at the end of Mothwork, which if you don't know how Mothwork ends, this is a spoiler. I mentioned it in my all about my novel for Mothwork. So Feeding Habits is the second book, but how Mothwork ends is Harrison is kind of at this standstill in this relationship. It's not working for him. It's unhealthy for him. It's not balanced. He does the best thing for him and he leaves. Doesn't see Lonan for a long time. Lonan stays across the country with his new girlfriend Eliza. In the time where, at the beginning of Feeding Habits, where Lonan is alone with Eliza and their relationship is a bit of a mess, Harrison's not doing well. Mentally doesn't feel like himself. He's quite destructive against himself, and it's just because he hasn't had enough emotional growth in terms of saying goodbye to this relationship, moving on from it, letting go. I don't want the boys to just get back together. That is not my plan by any means. They have a lot of work to do, but I'm having trouble now that they're together finding conflict. I think that's been the whole problem now that I'm saying it out loud with Harrison's point of view in general. because Lonan's point of view had a lot of conflict in it because his relationship with Eliza was just conflict. So that was very easy to write. Essentially, there was a lot with Lonan. He has a lot of stuff going on. He has conflict with his father, who's dead, but who's quote-unquote haunting him. He has conflict with Eliza, and then this subtextual conflict with Eliza being his father's ex-girlfriend, and so there's a lot of conflict. There is a lot of conflict with Harrison too, but in less of an obvious way. And so that has been a little bit tricky for me because Harrison's conflict is very subtextual. It's buried, and I'm having a hard time figuring out the conflict. Number one conflict, I think, for him is that is being self-destructive because of this relationship or the lack of relationship, and he hasn't given himself the time to kind of grieve the end of this relationship. And so he's gotten quite self-destructive, and he has conflict with his mother. She wasn't in his life when he was a child, and so that's obviously something that he resents a bit, but at the same time, they've gotten much better in their relationship, but these things still crop up, and his mother is worried about him and is trying to kind of push him in the right direction, but he's not really responding to her, and so that causes conflict too. I think right now I'm lacking an external conflict. I think in Feeding Habits there was an external conflict, and that was Eliza, but I don't really have an external conflict with Harrison. It's all internal work, which is a lot more delicate. It's a lot more intricate, and so I'm trying to figure out how to do it, and it's a little bit bizarre. I'm trying to like shred this and think about it because, you know, Feeding Habits is almost done. It's at 37,000 words. It's been at 37,000 words since July. I've added and removed, and every single time it's gone back to 37,000 words. 30,000 is always hard for me to break through. I just need to continue, but I don't really know how because the boys are together and I know I want to get them to a healthier friendship. They're going to start on a friendship state because neither of them are ready for a relationship right now, and they need to go back to a healthy friendship before they can establish anything further than that. I just don't really know how to get into Harrison's head. It's really just been that's been the problem, I think, the last few months with Feeding Habits is Lonan's head was really easy for me to get into, but Harrison's head at the moment is so clouded, and so it's really confusing to parse through. NaNoWriMo's not going the way that I thought it was going to. Like, I thought that I would write every single day a bit more. I also should have factored in the American election, though. So, you know what? I'm not blaming myself for that. I'm not upset about it or anything. I've definitely been thinking about it a lot more than I have been the last few weeks. That's kind of more of a realistic look at NaNoWriMo is, hello, I haven't written in days, and it's fine. Winston. Hi, Winston. Hi, Winston. Hi, everyone. It's been a few hours since my last update, and I'm finally sitting down to do a writing session. Today, Sarah and I had a really productive, chatting session about Feeding Habits and the direction and potential book 3, because I can't help myself. And so I'm really excited to write the next scene because it is everything I love in writing. I was not loving, the last scene that I started, and this is such a momentous moment with the boys reuniting, so I didn't really want to, just keep writing something that I didn't like. And so now I'm going to switch it up a little bit and change sort of motivations and stuff, and I think that will work out quite well. And I am so grateful that I have a writing buddy who is the best, who's sitting over there, so I'm not going to compliment her too much. She's doing this face. We had such a good conversation. It was the first time I've been ecstatic writing Feeding Habits or thinking about Feeding Habits since July or so, since I wrote the last of Lonan's part. No shade, Harrison, but he's been making me miserable, so I am really excited. I'm just gonna do some drafting. I haven't drafted yet. I just have to remove some of the stuff that I was writing before that I don't like. And then that's going to be my writing session for the night. Hi everyone, so it's the next day and I wanted to do an update on how last night's writing session went. So it went magnificently. I was a a little bit of shock with how well it went. Like I was saying, Sarah and I had a nice conversation earlier in the day about what would happen in the scene, and everything felt like it was rolling. I wrote just under 1,000 words. It was about 970 words, which is really awesome. It took about 2.5 hours, I think. I'm really happy with how the scene turned out. It is intense, and it is the exact way that these two boys should be reunited in such a chaotic way, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. It was a perfect way to spend my Friday. I find when my writing is going well, like my stress levels decrease astronomically, and so I'm feeling pretty energized this weekend. I'm not sure how much writing I will do today. Last night I spent the majority of the session listening to Comfort by Julia Jacqueline. I learned how to play it as well on the guitar, and so that was a lot of fun. It was really chill just to write yesterday. It was exciting. I felt refreshed, and I haven't felt like that in a long time when writing. So I think I have a little bit over 1,000 words written so far for the month. It's just about the end of the first week, and I'm pretty happy with that. I think that's pretty solid. Usually I don't really write that much in a week. If I do write, I can't really remember the last time I wrote like 1,000 words in a week, and so that's a really great accomplishment. So today I think I'm just gonna run some errands with my parents, and then I'm just gonna probably chill, do some schoolwork. I finished recording chapter 3 of Feeding Habits, which I think is gonna be my upload for Friday because I don't have anything else prepared, and I'm excited to share it with you guys. So I just have to edit that. The raw footage I think came out to like 47 minutes, so I don't know how long that chapter is gonna end up being. I just took some photos, so that's why I look so fancy. I don't usually look like this. NaNoWriMo has been going interestingly. I've been writing a lot less than I thought I would. It's a lot more than I usually do, but a lot less than I thought I would, like I said. NaNoWriMo, just to clarify for me, is not just writing anything. Yesterday I wrote an entire new poem to submit to a magazine. It was already rejected. It's okay, because I have a new poem that I could submit, and I also revised one that I've been working on since the summer. And so technically I wrote yesterday, but I'm not doing like a write every day. I'm like working on specifically Feeding Habits because Feeding Habits gets neglected. So I'm making sure that I'm specifically working on that project for half an hour a day. I think I made it about 6 out of the 10 days, I think, of the month, or the 11 days. It's not too bad. I will work on it later today, but I do have to work on an English project. It's my last day of my reading break. I drafted this really hilarious part of Feeding Habits where Lona and Harrison have just gotten back together, and Harrison is not having it, apparently. He's like really upset that Lona's here, which I think I understand, but at the same time, he's taking it kind of to a next level. They both kind of deserve it, but he is working on this farmhouse for a friend of his mother's, and he's just working on repairing it. So after him and Lonan have like some time together, they end up on like a canoe rental place. They rent a canoe, and Harrison kind of like shoves them both into the water at the end of the scene. After that, he abandons Lonan, steals his money, and takes a taxi to this farm just outside of Brooklyn that this friend owns, and he sleeps there. And then the next morning he wakes up and goes to like the farmhouse, like the house that's on the property, where the man who's the friend of his mother and his wife are making breakfast, and the wife lets him in, and he just starts talking. He's making a plan of what he'll say to her, like why is he here, because it's like 6 a.m. why are you here so early? He's making up this plan to tell her, you know, I got here, I just wanted to get early on the job, like I want to be a good employee to you guys, because you know they hired him to fix up this barn. I want to be responsible. And the lady, like his wife's name is Charlene, and Charlene is like not saying anything. Harrison walks into the kitchen, and like Lonan is sitting there, so we can assume that Lonan informed Charlene and her husband, who is Harrison's mother's friend, his name is Harvey. He informed them that Harrison like basically robbed him and like probably ran to their house. and didn't return home the night previous because he's being reckless. It's kind of embarrassing. It definitely is, because Harrison's making this whole big show about like, oh, you know, I came here early because I want to look like a good guy for you guys. And so I have to write the scene after that where he is eating breakfast alone on the porch, probably a little bit embarrassed. He's hanging out with a golden retriever, and that's about it. So the Lone and Harrison reunion has been going well, as you can see. So I'm going to go look at these pictures that we took, and then I will work on my English, and then maybe later tonight I will do some writing. Hi everyone, so it's been some time since I last updated you guys. It's actually quite late. I just finished my stuff for my paper. It's almost like 10 o'clock, and now I'm going to write feeding habits, so I don't really know what I'm doing, and I'm sure if you're a pantser and you're watching this, you're probably like, girl, I feel you. Sometimes when you're a pantser, you can sort of get into these ruts because you don't know what you are doing. The momentum sometimes runs out, and I'm worried the momentum is running out here. I think I always have that worry anyway, just because I'm a generally anxious person. So the scene that I have to write is quite funny, I think, because Harrison's feeling kind of stupid, like what I was describing earlier, but I don't really have a clear direction for what the boys are really gonna do after this, so I am a little bit nervous. I'm a bit, not gonna lie, a bit scared to see how this is gonna go, because sometimes when I run out of like a direction, I can get pretty stuck. I think pantsers who are watching this will probably understand what I'm saying, so I am going to go see if I can draft a little bit of this potentially embarrassing scene. It's interesting because I've always viewed Harrison as the emotionally stable one in the relationship between him and Lonan, but Harrison is not emotionally stable right now. He is very fragile. He is very mentally unwell, and Lonan right now is the one who is a lot more stable, except Harrison has just sort of traumatized him the night before, to be fair to him, dragging him into a body of water. We're gonna see how that goes. I think also there's some tea I need to dive into, so I think it's gonna be pretty fun. Hi, this is not like the sexiest filming setup. I have just been lying down. Right after that clip, I literally jumped into my bed. I just rewatched this study vlog that I recently uploaded. I am really nostalgic, and the nostalgia for my university got me thinking about my nostalgia for when I was a child and I used to write. I used to have the best time writing. And when I was in grade 8, I would start writing at about like 7 p.m. I would sit where I'm lying down right now. I didn't sit at a desk. I didn't have a desk until high school. And I would have my laptop. I only used my laptop at the time for writing because I was not absorbed in technology like I am now. I usually would average about like 4,000 words a day or something like that. 2,000 to 4,000. I'm not saying I don't have fun writing now. It's just different. And I'm trying to bring that fun back. I think feeding habits, moth work in general, that was a way to bring that fun back. I'm sitting at my sister's desk because I was too lazy to sit at mine. And I wanted to show you something because the place where I put my camera was currently holding this. Pop my signed NBT CD. I'm gonna write this scene. Writing feeding habits always is a bit of an anxiety-inducing experience. I'm not gonna lie. It is not always fun. And it's kind of tricky because this is my fun project. It's supposed to be fun. When I pop it open, I just get really anxious. It's something that I learned while writing this. If you don't know, I started like a series where I like jot down all of the things I've learned writing X books. So this is, Feeding Habits is my 11th novel, so I will be putting out a video when I finish it on 11 things I learned writing my 11th novel, and this is one of them. Sometimes you can't rely so much on like an external thing to make you super happy, and I've found that I have done that with Fostered, and that's okay because it's a big part of my life, but at the same time, I also don't want to be using it as a crutch for the rest of my life. This is my safe project, and what do you do when your safe project starts feeling unsafe to you? When you open it and you're always scared of what's gonna happen when you open it. And what I've learned is that paradox exists, and you have to learn how to handle it. A paradox of your safe project is no longer safe, and what are you going to do to make it feel safe? What are you going to do, like exposure and response, sort of write it so that you can see that it will be okay. I think the anxiety comes from a lot of failure. I don't want to fail in feeding habits. I don't want to go down a rut, especially since I just got out of one. I don't want to fail again. And so it's not going to help me to not write it. Those are my honest feelings about whenever I open feeding habits. I don't love it. I have been watching some writing vlogs where the writers are just so excited to write their projects, and that's kind of why I'm like nostalgic, because I am not excited to write feeding habits. I've never really had this excitement for the project in months, and it's really sad. And this doesn't happen with all of my books. This is just like a feeding habits problem. I want to write it, but at the same time I don't. I'm not very excited, which makes me sad because I love this book. But anyway, I am going to look over the scene that I wrote with Harrison. Harrison is being chaotic, and like I said, he is kind of making a fool of himself, and so this is gonna be fun to reread. Hi everyone, it's been a while since I last did a NaNoWriMo update. It is the 14th of November. I have written this month, contrary to me not vlogging. NaNoWriMo's not going the way I thought it was gonna go. It's not going as well as I thought it was going to go, but it's also going better than I thought it was going to go. I think I just surpassed 2,000 words for the month, which isn't too bad. I definitely have not written a half an hour a day for feeding habits every day from the beginning of the month. I have written, I think, about 8 days out of the 14, so just a little bit over half. And it's been an experience. I have written things that aren't feeding habits in that time. Like I wrote a poem and I revised a poem. I feel like I've tried my best. Some days I've just been too tired, but other than that, like, things have just gotten in the way of me being able to write. Like I need to work on school or something else. At least for me and how my life functions, half an hour is a lot to ask when writing. And I've noticed that I've done most of the writing pretty late at night, like when I'm really exhausted and thinking I won't have time to write half an hour. I end up do. Yesterday I had a good writing session. I wrote, I think, 450 words yesterday, and the day before I wrote like 300. The 450 words felt like it was like 1,000 words. I remember I used to be able to write like thousands of words in a day when I was younger. I can't do that anymore, but when I'm thinking about this week, I've probably written about like a little over 1,000 words this week, which is really great. Yesterday I had a really good writing session, and I'm really excited to go back and write feeding habits. Usually, like, I feel like I'm not ever excited about writing feeding habits, and I feel like I dread it, but like I'm looking forward to it because things got intense. I think chapter 8, which I started it at the beginning of NaNoWriMo, I think. Yeah, it's like almost done. So that's like really cool because chapter 7 took me from July to write. So it's really nice to have only been writing a chapter for like 2 weeks, and it's like almost there. I think now as I've gotten older and I've gotten more handle on like my prose style and stuff, it just takes longer inherently. The way that I write now, my style just requires more time. I didn't realize how much I rely on like poetic like devices and poetic technique until I took a poetry class, and my writing is very poetic, and because it's like a poem, I feel like I'm hyping up my writing too much now by calling it a poem, but because my writing style is more poetic, it does take a bit more time than, for example, when I was 13, I was not writing in a poetic style like this because I was 13 and I was just starting, and so it was a bit more stripped back, so I was able to focus more on like plot, dialogue. Now I focus more on prose, character, internal narrative, and so those two things, they just require different things and they require different times. It's not going as well as I thought. Like I said, like I thought I would be able to write like half an hour every day. I would like wake up and be like, yes, today I'm gonna write for half an hour a day. Really, it's the back of my mind. Like, I definitely have been writing a lot more than I usually do, so it's working, but it's not like the huge paradigm shift that I thought it was gonna be. It's not like honestly, I don't wake up every morning being like, today is NaNoWriMo and I'm going to write for half an hour and it's gonna be great. I wake up and I do my daily routine, and then it's the end of the night and I'm like, I haven't written half an hour yet, and then because I want to like be able to update the NaNoWriMo website or my write club, I will write for half an hour. That's just kind of how it's going. I think with the way my life is, that's just how it's gonna be. Some people probably have a different experience with NaNoWriMo, but right now it's just kind of like a normal month, except I'm writing a little bit more than I was before, and definitely kind of pushing myself to be a bit more active in the writing sphere, which is what I wanted to get out of this experience anyway. Hi everyone, so I was just sitting at my desk about to edit a video, eating a pear, and watching one of Adele Marie's NaNoWriMo vlogs, and I realized that I have not vlogged for NaNoWriMo in a while. It is the 17th of November, which is kind of crazy. I feel like at this point, obviously, in like regular NaNoWriMo, you would have hit 25,000 words. Today was a good day for writing. I started writing early in the morning. So last night, I had a great writing night. I wrote some really romantic, feely, soft moments, and that was a lot of fun. When I was going to bed, like it was the first time in I think months, probably since I got home from school. I think the last time I remember like staying up to think about my book was like back when I was back on campus. And so last night, after like I got ready for bed, I just usually am a very Gen Z and I like fall asleep watching YouTube videos. But yesterday, no, I did not. I didn't go on my phone. I just like kind of sat there and I was like daydreaming about my book and like my heart. That is how like Mothwork and like the spin-off in general like started, because I would not at all have written it had I not like daydreamed extensively. That's like how I got into writing anyway. So then it's like 1:30 almost, and when I'm in bed, and so then I'm thinking about my book and like I go on my notes app and I write notes about what will happen. So this morning, the first thing that I did was write, which is crazy. I never do that. I am more of a leave writing for the last thing you have to do for the whole day, which means I usually write very late because I'm a student. I have a lot of work to do. But no, I did it first thing and it was amazing. I started at about like 10 and I finished at about 11:45, and I'm really happy with what I wrote. It's also really cute. On the NaNoWriMo website, I am at 4,222 words, which is so good. I'm projecting I will reach 10,000 words. I have written 11, counting today 12 out of the 17 days so far in the month. So I've missed 5 days of writing, which isn't that bad. Hi everyone, so it is November 23rd and I haven't updated on NaNoWriMo in a while. School kind of flooded on me. I've always said this since I started NaNoWriMo, but I feel like NaNoWriMo comes at like the worst month of the year for students. November just sucks, like, to do NaNoWriMo. I haven't written today. I didn't write the last 2 days. I did write the day before the last 2 days, but I am just sitting at my desk. I'm about to reread what I was writing for Feeding Habits, and we'll see how that goes. I don't really know what I'm doing now that I'm kind of at this point in Feeding Habits where the boys are, for some reason, getting along more than I thought they were going to, which is making my life a bit more of a nightmare. It's about 10:30. I'm really tired. I've gone to bed very late the last few nights and I'm exhausted. So I'm gonna go to sleep and like do some reading pretty soon. But I just thought I would like try to get in like today's half hour. I'm not sure if I'll do the full half hour. I might just do like 10 minutes and then go to bed. Hi everyone, it is December 1st, which means NaNoWriMo is over. Did I write yesterday? No. I haven't been writing at all the last few days. I've been really extremely swamped with school. Since like November 22nd or so, I haven't been writing. So for about a week, like the last week of NaNoWriMo, I didn't write. I have a lot of work to do. I did not have time to write at all. It is finals and I'm dying. And so NaNoWriMo just didn't happen in the last week. Yesterday, I literally didn't even realize it was the last day of the month. So I didn't know that NaNoWriMo was ending until like 11:52 p.m. before the next day. And I was like, oh, so NaNoWriMo is over. I thought about writing, but I wouldn't have gotten my half hour in anyway. I was really tired. I was doing a lot of schoolwork, so I didn't end up writing yesterday. So I wanted to kind of do a final reflection. So I started NaNoWriMo at 37,331 words in Feeding Habits, and I ended at 41,901 words, which means I wrote 5,048 words in total. So I did write over 5,000 words this month, which is pretty good, seeming as though November literally killed me. Like, as a student, it was a lot. It was a lot of work. NaNoWriMo, like I was saying, didn't go the way that I thought, but it also didn't go badly. Like, I think I'm at a good spot in Feeding Habits. I never would have gotten to this place without NaNoWriMo, because I knew I really needed to get myself to a good place in the book before Nano. If not, I would never have written anything. And so that pushed me to make some decisions that have taken me in a different direction in the book, which I'm really happy with. Some of my favorite scenes that I've written. I am not upset at 5,000 words if I'm looking at my Write Club, which is not fully accurate because sometimes I forget to update, but I don't think I wrote all of October. Like, the last time I updated on my Write Club was September 22nd, and then the next time was November 1st. So, like, I didn't really write very much. So it was nice to be, like, focused on writing. I definitely noticed the half hours was a lot. It was, like, way too much for a day, especially, like, as a student. It's just, like, too much to give half an hour. First of all, I'm a writing student, so if I am writing, I probably will be working on, like, writing, like, either critiques or writing my own work for my classes. And this NaNoWriMo, I didn't count any of that writing as, like, progress. I only counted, like, working on Feeding Habits, like I mentioned, because it gets neglected, as working on NaNoWriMo, if you're wondering, because my goal was to write every day for half an hour, 17 of the 30 days of the month. So that would be like 57%. Would I do it again is the question. Probably not. I didn't really like it. I think in the beginning, having like that half hour looming was like a bit more of a motivator for me to write, but then at the end I just got way too busy, like even knowing that I needed to do my half hour, that it just didn't end up really working for like how I work. I just don't think I can write every day. Do I think that it was a good reminder to write in general, just to write more often than I do? I definitely think so. I did try my best to stick to it, and so that was really great. Obviously, the latter half of the month was way too busy, either because I'm a pantser. This could also be a problem, is either I wanted to write, but I knew I didn't have enough time, like including the half an hour, to sit down and think about what needed to happen next in the book and also draft. So I feel like outliners probably have more success in NaNoWriMo, obviously, because you would know what's happening. But me as a pantser, like trying to do, especially with my half an hour a day kind of thing, like a half an hour is not enough time for me to figure out what I'm trying to achieve in a scene and also draft it simultaneously. Yesterday, if I wanted to draft in the last 10 minutes of the day, I couldn't because I wasn't sure where I was going, and I just need to think over that a bit more. Thinking is a really important part, obviously, in my process, especially as a pantser, and so I knew that I wouldn't have enough time to think about what I needed to do and draft it and then get something that I would be happy with. And so I was also trying not to write things I wasn't proud of and I didn't like just for the sake of hitting the goal. It becomes way too much of a struggle for me to write something that I'm not enjoying. And so I also had to keep that in mind, because the time was too much time for me to allot in a day, like for daily purposes, but also not enough time to do all of the work required in my process. And so that's why I think like every day was a lot. So for my process, I definitely think leaving a few days in between writing helps me sort of feel more motivated to get onto it. But that's going to be it for this vlog. I hope that your NaNoWriMo was great, and let me know how you guys did in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!